Hi, I'm back again. Well, we talked about the gods, the goddess, and the divine, and all of that. Tonight, we're going to focus on some basics, some housekeeping. The first stuff is I'm going to talk about my vision and mission and our purpose for all of this talk. My goal is to do my part to participate in helping the black family, that is, a man, mother, father, son, daughters, be able to raise some strong, healthy kids who are viable, independent, self sufficient. They are in control, powerful, healthy, strong. And I want this for generations here on out. Strong, healthy, viable kids so that they can raise strong, healthy, viable kids who are in control of their destiny. And I'm not talking about whether or not to work for somebody, but I want them to be working for themselves. I want them to be able to raise their families to work for themselves. I don't want us having to need anybody else to help us do a darn thing. I want us to be able to have our families and take care of our families and offspring here on out without anybody being in a position to ever hurt us again. They Other people have to figure out how to get along without ratting on us. So I want these kids, want our offspring here on out to be viable, strong, independent, self-sufficient, healthy. That is healthy and mentally, spiritually, uh, uh, um, for your mind, body, and spirit. Your soul, your mind, your body, and all levels of their existence to be healthy and moral ever after. And the second purpose is for white people and any other race of people to be irrelevant to our well being, to black people's well being. That is, they will never ever be in a position to do anything that would be able to hurt us, our well being, that we are able to take care of ourselves without anybody else's help. That whenever there's a political change, it doesn't make a difference, it won't make a difference to black people. If there is a new regime anywhere that's affecting the country, it won't be relevant to us because we'll be so independent and self sufficient that we will be able to take care of ourselves no matter what white people decide, no matter what other people decide, other races of people. Because white people might not always run America, but whoever runs it anywhere in this country or anywhere else in the world, it doesn't mean a thing to us because we're able to take care of ourselves no matter what happens on the planet. We're able to take care of ourselves and our well being will be assured. So we have to do all of these steps to get to that point. And that's why I'm making this. The next part of my basic housekeeping is to give the listener some idea about um, what they need to do to come to this point. First and foremost is that there are a lot of people on the internet speaking and doing videos and recordings. They're having seminars. They're having all kinds of classes and research. There's a lot of people. They got a lot of good information. Listen to it, read it, go to the seminars. That's part of what you got to do. Your part in this is to read and research. And this is going to be something up to you to do. This is your job to do. Don't wait for people to tell you stuff. Don't wait for people to write down stuff. Don't wait for people to point you to stuff. You got to get off of your butt and go and look and do the work. No more excuses. Not everybody is going to be a good researcher, but you're still obligated to go there. Um, Before you even comment on what I'm saying, I don't want to hear from you until after you have done some research. Really, because right now you're not ready to speak until you have done what some of these other people and myself. I've done a lot of reading and research. I would not have jump to the could come to the conclusions I did without a lot of reading and research. And I really waited until I did a lot. And so, as a minimum, there's some things you got to do. So I'm going to talk about that. One is that this is going to be your work, and so when you go to do your research, then I'm going to give some pointers. But this is a lot of stuff, but it's not limited to this, okay? So, one of them is focus on old books as well as new. Like you go to a modern bookstore and they've got these shiny soft cover books all on the shelves about various topics, including African American history and essays and positions and topics. Those are new books, and they're being spun with this political social climate. You can read them, but don't count on those because these are people, your peers, mine, of our generation, that are living and writing books based on some of their political agenda, not necessarily history. So, focus a bit on old books, books before this point in time, because you'll get a broader picture. You won't be getting the political agenda now, you'll be getting the political agenda previous to that. So focus on old books like black people who wrote books in the 30s, the 1800s. You're going to focus on those. Read them, find them, look for them. So just be wary of the new books, the modern books. Now, some of the new books are going to tell you about the old books. That's fine. Read them, look at them. Look for primary sources. I talked about that a little while ago, but I'm going to go over it again. A primary source is a source that was first person accounting of whatever it is. If you saw a dog walk down the street and then turned to your neighbor and said, I saw a dog walk down the street, you are a primary source. Now, that neighbor that you told that you saw the dog walk down the street, if they told a third person, they are a secondary source because they're telling what somebody told them. What you want to do when you research is look for the first person accountings. Those are the primary sources. These are the people who were alive at the time when they were writing about it, or the person who saw the original, whatever it is. A good way to look at primary sources are in the old libraries with them old books. If you can go to a university library at a college or something, go look at their old books. They're there. They are there. I saw them. That's what I went and looked at. So, if you want to know the history of Jesus or the people around in early Christianities, you can read a translation of a book from the made in the year 300, 300. The King James Version was written in about the 1600s or the 16th century. That's 1600. That many years difference, about 1300 years difference between those original texts and this modern Bible. That's a lot of years. Okay, so read primary sources, and that's why I'm saying good way to find primary sources is old schools and libraries and such, and you'll find books written in the year 100, the year 200. Look at them, read them. You'll see some fascinating things. That's how I found out that the original Christian saints were black. Saint Anthony was straight up black. Read it with my own eyes in a primary source. I asked my religious history teacher, if translation was considered a primary source, and he assured me it was, because it's still a first person accounting of what they saw, what they witnessed. So read those. That's going to tell you some information straight up the top, and then that's what you can base your conclusions on, primary sources. Other thing is, whatever books you do read, if there are references in them, look at the reference. Like some of the writings, they might have a reference saying, with the quotes in there from somewhere else. That's what a reference is. You got to cite your source. Like if you give a bunch of figures in a book, like something like statistics say 5 out of 10 people do such and such. And then you have parentheses according to the Census Bureau 1950, something like that. That's a reference. They have to tell exactly where they got that information from. That's considered scholarship when you're presenting information because you're acting as a scholar, and the practice of acting as a scholar is scholarship. So, in that way, in that context, I'm not talking about the scholarship like you got a free tuition and board to go to a particular school. Scholarship also means the act of presenting information as a scholar would. So references is part of it. So cite your reference, read the references that whatever book you're reading cites. Cite means that they refer to, that they quote, and then read where they got their information, and then read the references of references of references as far back as they go to the original source. The reason why I'm saying read the references, that is, go to the source of where they got it at, the original source of the original source of the original source, is because some people pull statistics and references out of things without their original context. So you want to read the whole chapter or the whole paragraph or the whole book to get the context. And then you got a picture of what the writer was actually trying to say. Chances are you might even find more information than what that reader was saying. Plus, you might find something more significant than what what the writer was presenting. That's going to be up to you to find out. And as you read references of references, you'll be able to discern that. And you'll see, just keep reading. Look at the bibliography in the back of the book. That is, if you read an old style book, say 25, 30 years old at least, you'll see, especially when it's a nonfiction book, such as an accounting or a biography or a history book, if you look in the back of it, it's going to have a bibliography where they cite all the books that they read or researched to get the information that they have to put in their book. You're going to look at those, and then you're going to go find the books that they get that information from, or the graphs, or the papers, or the statistical chart, or whatever that was they got that information from, because that's going to be your chain of information, evidence. Okay? So you're going to be looking at that. Next, I'm going to recommend going to museums, especially art museums. A lot, well, I'm not going to say most, but a lot of history of the world is not in a science museum, but in an art museum. That's where you start learning about people, and you're going to see what their cultures were like and what they did and how they lived. I would look at the little plaque or a place card by the um, art piece, but understand that that's not all the information about that piece. So if you find a particular picture or something like that that you find interesting, remember the place card, but also go down to the gift shop, and they usually have a postcard of everything that's in the art museum that's there. You'll get the postcard, the brochures, or whatever in the gift shop. Get those. They'll have the reference, they'll have the painter, they have the information, and that way you can go and further research on that piece that you were looking at. So art museums are paramount. So are science museums, but art museums especially, because you got the paintings, you got the people, you got the population, you got sculptures, you got architecture in there, all kind of stuff. Very important stuff. If you want to learn about Egypt, go to an art museum. You can go to a local art museum. Start off in your local city, go to their art museum. Usually, your university in your city, that is your 4 year university, especially a state university, has an art museum. Go to that one first. Then go to the Then go to the regional office. I mean, not regional office, but the regional art museum, like in your state, the largest art museum in your state. And then go to the largest art museum in your region. Finally, you might work your way up to the Smithsonian's in Washington or to the Metropolitan Art Museums in New York. But do go to art museums. You'll see Egyptian stuff, you'll see Greek stuff, Roman stuff, the Renaissance, um, all of that. And that kind of helps us learn the history of mankind. After you have gone through those, you'll see what all the controversy is about and why people are fussing about um, misrepresented history, and why and how those books that you're reading correlate to what you're seeing. And that's important. Until you get that correlation through your head, you don't have a right to speak. Not on this stuff. So, jumping up and down just because you read one or two books and you just got a lot of stuff to say, suppress it. All of us have read those one or two books. You ain't ready yet. You're not ready yet. Do not, when you do go doing your research, do not limit yourself to Africa or America. Read about the whole world. Research about the whole world. Start off with Africa because that's your history, your beginnings. Okay, if you're a black person, and that's only what I'm talking to is black people, those are your beginnings. Read about that, learn about it. If you're a university student, take courses on ancient Africa, but don't limit yourself to that. Don't limit yourself to America. Um, when I'm talking about this sort of thing, like read Chinese history, read um, ancient, ancient American history, South American history, Canadian history. You're going to read about the Aborigines. You don't have to read 100 books on them, but you do need to read at least a few of the older books. Good things to read are college textbooks. If you're in college, take some courses on that. You got some electives in college. Do courses on the humanities and history because you got some work ahead of you and you're going to need that foundation. Okay? Use this time as a period of receiving information only. This isn't a time for you to speak yet because you're on receive. It took me, I just shut up and put myself, when I first started back in the 90s, when I first started, I put myself on receive. Receive, period. Just absorb. I went to seminars, I went to classes. I was taking college classes and this stuff. And I was listening and receiving. And I went to Egypt. I looked in the Cairo Museum. I looked in the Metropolitan Art Museum and the Smithsonian's. Okay, but I was on receive, and I was on receive for about 2 years, and then I was able to learn some stuff. I already knew it, but I had to make sure it was so, because my instinct said something, and I knew it. I knew it based on my instincts, but I didn't have the foundation. So I went on. I put my brain on receive and absorbed only. I wasn't speaking. As a minimum, as a general person minimum, you're gonna be reading a few hundred books. Read a few hundred books, and then you're gonna see a pattern emerge. You're gonna read about 100 books, and it's gonna take you about a year or so, 1 to 2 years. Do that as a minimum. If you get through your 100 books before the year is out, then read some more. You're not gonna ever stop reading, and you're not gonna ever stop researching, but you need to do that as a minimum. And that's when you're going to start seeing the patterns. You're going to see that Africa went through some of the similar stuff that South America did. Africa still held on, and that's what Africa is still doing. Africa is still holding on. Africa was supposed to be colonized just like America was. They failed in Africa. It's taken them a long time. Africa is one of the ones that are still left. And the other thing that you should know is that we weren't supposed to be figuring this out yet. We were supposed to be long gone. It's only recent that did they make it the headway that they did, and that's a recent thing. When you do see this pattern emerge and you get it, then you speak because we want to know what you have to say. We want to know your spin on things. We got ours. I got my spin. I know what I think. I want to know what you think. I want to know what you think, but I don't want to know what you think until you done seen what I seen. Okay, so we can be looking at the same thing and come out with different conclusions, and I am interested in your conclusions because I could be wrong. I could be having I could have missed something, but I don't want you coming at me talking about how wrong I am when you only read one book. I want you to read everything I read, and we can look at all the same evidence, and then put our heads together. Or you can bring something new. In which case, I'm going to say, here is a voice recorder thingy. That's how you do the program. And then you go start speaking and write down what you think. Because I want to read what you think. I want to know what you think. But I don't want to know until you're ready to speak. And you ain't going to be ready to speak to me until you did what I did. I wasn't ready to speak to other folks until I did what they did. That is, I came to my teachers that were teaching African history. These are black teachers at the university, and we put our heads together and we had an exchange because I done read some stuff and she done read some stuff. I done seen some things. She done seen some things. We shared information, came out with similar conclusions based on that information. That was wonderful. I want that. There are some people who saw the same stuff that came out with different things, but they found where they missed a thing or two. So that's part of it. I want you to do that. Okay? So those are some of the basics. I'm going to stop right there because we want the basics. So I'm going to stop right there and leave that. Bye bye.